Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. Today I'm gonna do a sit-down video, which I know can be really boring, so I'm gonna try to keep this as short and concise as possible. But I've wanted to make a video for a while, just kind of explaining my story, how I got into fitness, talk about my eating disorder recovery, which a lot of you guys may or may not know I struggled with an eating disorder for a really long time. But I started this YouTube channel so that I could connect with you guys and share more of my life with you. And I feel like the only way I can do that effectively is if you guys kind of know more about who I am and how I got to where I am today and like became or grew into the person that I am today. So I guess let's rewind and start from the beginning. Growing up, I was really into sports. I probably played like every sport you could possibly think of. I played like soccer, lacrosse, ice hockey, field hockey. I was a runner, everything growing up. And that was kind of what I was known for. I was always known as like the athletic one. I think also a lot of people who have struggled with eating disorders talk about how they grew up and always were self-conscious about their body, or maybe were like overweight growing up. And that was not the case for me at all. If anything, I was self-conscious because I was so small. Like I was that girl who's like the last one of her friends to go through puberty. Like I was just always tiny, and I like didn't like being small, but I kind of like identified myself as just being really good at sports. I think the first like big life-changing event that happened was when I was 11 years old. I was going into 7th grade. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And then about a year, not even a year later, I was diagnosed with celiac, which I can't eat gluten. My body doesn't process gluten. So now it's like super popular, like gluten-free is almost a fad, like healthy, whatever thing. There's so many gluten-free products, but back then there was not at all. Like everything that was gluten-free tasted awful. 7th and 8th grade, I was dealing with that, but like I said earlier, I was like really, really into sports, so I was training a lot and just really focused on that, and I ended up getting a scholarship to a boarding school. So my freshman year, I went to a boarding school that was like, it was like 2.5 hours away from my house, so it wasn't that far, but I was 13 or 14, and my scholarship was for academics, but it was also in large part for ice hockey, which I know it sounds weird. Like you wouldn't look at me and think I was an ice hockey player, but that was like my main two sports at that point were ice hockey and running. When you're 13 and 14 years old, and I grew up like eating very, very healthy, just because that's how my family is. Like when I went to a friend's house, I like ate a ton of junk, whatever. But for the most part, I ate very, very healthy. And two, because I had celiac, so like I couldn't eat a lot of junk food. But long story short, my freshman year, I kind of went balls to the walls, like batshit crazy. Like I remember going to bed and not remembering everything I ate that day. And I didn't care. Like I wanted to gain weight at that point. I was so tired of being small. All my friends, like, sorry, this is TMI, but like had boobs and like had their period. Like I didn't. I was like still looked like I was 10 years old. And so I like wanted to gain weight, and I didn't weigh myself all year, but I like definitely gained weight, and I left school that year like very, very happy with myself, with my body and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's not like my eating disorder started because of any like insecurity or anything, but I went home that summer, and I think like one of the first couple weeks I was back, I went to the doctor and they weighed me, and I did not gain the freshman 15. I gained like the freshman 25. ish, maybe more. But it like freaked me out that I had gained so much weight and I didn't even know it. So at that point I was like, I just need to start eating healthier. And I was training really, really hard that summer too, mostly for ice hockey. I still feel so weird saying that because okay, first of all, ice hockey is one of those things, I did not enjoy it. I played like solely for the purpose that I was really good. And I was training really, really hard. And that was like the first summer I was weight training and stuff too, because I needed to build muscle and get bigger so I could be better. So fast forward, and I went back to school, and I kind of went back with the intention of, I just need to like stay in control and make better decisions. Like my eating disorder did not start because I wanted to change my appearance at all. My mom had an eating disorder, my aunt had an eating disorder, my grandma had an eating disorder. I'm very genetically predisposed. So that year, like, it started out as me making good decisions and getting, again, like chicken and rice instead of 3 plates of french fries in the cafeteria, or not going back and eating a whole pint of ice cream, like just having a few bites, that kind of thing. But it quickly turned into less and less food. And I was getting so much attention from my coaches and stuff because I had put on a lot of muscle and gotten a lot stronger and just like a lot better. Like I trained my ass off that summer. And I was like so proud that I was like, I need to stay on top of my training. But then like in the same way, my staying on top of my training and like maybe getting in a lift a couple times a week on top of my practices turned into me going to the gym multiple times a day after my training that I do for hockey and my running that I do for cross country. And then cross country season ended and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not running anymore. So then I started like obsessively doing cardio and I started to lose weight. And I started weighing myself, so I knew I was losing weight. And it literally, I can't tell you why. I still don't know why, but it like turned into an obsession. And even while I was losing weight, I didn't like how I looked, but I was so scared that if I let myself indulge, can you hear that? There's like people outside my apartment. I'm trying to have a deep conversation here. But I felt like if I let myself indulge that I would lose control and like the same thing that happened the year before would happen again and it would be worse. From September of that year to when I went home for Christmas break, I think I lost like 30 pounds and my family wasn't going to let me go back to school, but I ended up convincing them. So I think I like gained a couple pounds while I was home or something and they let me go back, but that like didn't last long. My coach wouldn't let me play. So I was like kicked off the team. I had to just like sit on the bench. But I would like sneak in workouts and I just like wasn't eating. And like I knew what I was doing was absolutely crazy, but I couldn't help it. And on Valentine's Day of my sophomore year of high school, I remember calling my dad just like in tears, bawling. And I was like, pick me up. I can't do this anymore. I need help. And so we did. And I went into treatment. I had to get like medically stabilized for a couple weeks, and then I went into a day treatment program. And I was there from, I don't know, it was probably like March at that point to the start of my junior year. And I ended up my junior year going to another boarding school, but it was closer to my house so that I could like live at home. And basically, this is what I'm not gonna go into, but the next like 3 or 4 years of my life, I was in and out of treatment like 3 or 4 times. I missed my high school graduation because I was in treatment, and I ended up having to defer for my first year of college because I was in treatment. When school started, it became so much of a habit, I didn't know how to live without it, if that makes sense. Like I hated my eating disorder. And I struggled with it all, by the way. It was mostly anorexia and exercise stuff, and then I stopped exercising. I don't think I didn't have the energy to do it probably for like from my junior year until my freshman year, not my sophomore year of college, I didn't step foot in a gym. But I struggled a lot with binging and purging too. I kind of did it all. But yeah, so now on to college. I came to school, I was a huge partier my freshman year. Like, I went out probably 5 nights a week, and I just kind of like revolved my life around my friends. And I was so happy, but it was one of those things where I was like so happy and so like convinced that I was recovered that I like wasn't paying attention to what I was eating, and I was just kind of like doing what everyone else does and only eating when I was with other people who were eating. So I ended up losing a lot of weight, and I think, again, I didn't know how to live without my eating disorder, so that trigger of losing a little bit of weight kind of sent me into yet another down spiral. And from August to October, I went into treatment again at the end of October of my freshman year of college, and that was my last time in treatment. But I lost like 20, 25 pounds, like a lot of weight, and like I wasn't trying. That was what like scared me so much, and it was like the last thing I wanted, but I just like, I couldn't stop. I went to a treatment program that was like 15 minutes away from my school. So I would go to treatment during the day, and then I was taking night classes. And I honestly think that that was like the point where I kind of realized like I needed to recover. I had what I wanted, which was like all these friendships and partying because I was crazy, and school and like all this stuff that I wanted and I'd worked so hard for, like right in front of me. And yet I like had to go to treatment every day. So I got out of treatment at the end of my freshman year, went home, came back to school my sophomore year. I was living off campus, and I don't want to say like it was this whole like straight and narrow path, like, oh, I was better, because definitely throughout my sophomore year I struggled. I mean, I remember there was a point where people were like, you're gonna have to go back into treatment, and I literally wanted the life that I had in front of me so badly that I was making myself gain weight, which I know a lot of people can't do, but I was like getting weighed in at my health center like 3 times a week or something, and making, like, I would go to bed at night like crying because I was so full. And so a lot of you guys are probably like, so how did this all turn from like your eating disorder and like what helped you recover was your friends and stuff? Like how, like why do you not hang out with that many people from school now? Like how do you get so into fitness? What is my pet peeve is when people think that getting into fitness is what makes you recover from an eating disorder, that they can recover from their eating disorder by lifting. Like, it does not work like that. If anything, it's just another way for your eating disorder to manifest itself. I want to get that out of the way. Like, fitness did not cure me from my eating disorder. What happened is I weight restored, like, myself the last time. It wasn't like as crazy as I had to before, but I was in a good place. And every time I would be like going out with my friends 5 nights a week or whatever, I wouldn't eat enough. I would lose some weight. People would freak out. And I realized that I kind of had this like moment where I was like, I don't like this. Like, I genuinely don't like this. I'm going out with my friends and stuff because it makes me feel normal, but like I feel like crap all the time, and I'm so hungover I like can't eat my food, and the last thing I want to do is go back into treatment. And so I kind of started going out like less and less, and like I'm still have a lot of friends. I just like don't like to do that, I guess. That's when I kind of found Instagram, and my Instagram did not start out as a fitness Instagram. I think my first username was like Hungry for Health or something, but it was an eating disorder recovery account. And then through that, obviously I found like fitness people, and I think the first person I found was like Marie Wald. Like, you guys have definitely heard of her, but I'll put her here. Sorry, my camera overheated right in the middle of what I was saying. But back to what I was saying. Her account, and there was other people, I think like Emily Duncan was a big one, where I just saw that they were eating all these different types of food because they were like tracking their macros, and they were lifting because they loved lifting, and they were both in like surpluses at the time. Like they weren't lifting to be, or working out to be skinny or whatever. And it had been so long since I'd set foot in a gym. Like I said, like the last few years of my eating disorder, exercise was not a part of it at all. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna like see if I can get approval from like my health center or whatever to lift weights. So I knew for me, exercise couldn't be about burning calories or looking a certain way. So I started lifting. I just went to like, I live in an apartment complex, so I just went to like the gym there, and there's no like crazy stuff. It was just like dumbbells and a few machines and stuff. Fell in love with it. Like I looked forward to going to the gym every day. And I think that that's one message I really want to get across is like, I did not start lifting because of my eating disorder or because I thought that I could like stay skinny. Like it was almost the opposite for me, where it's like, I want to love my body because of what it can do. And honestly, at that point, like when I started, I'll put like my first like fitnessy Instagram picture right here. That would be funny. But I thought I looked great. Like I really didn't think about it. And then that kind of evolved into like my account became more fitness focused, I guess. Like at first I didn't post like any selfies or anything. It was literally just like my food. I was just kind of drifting further and further away from my eating disorder. Like it wasn't hard for me to eat. It wasn't hard for me to see the scale go up. And when I started lifting, the scale, like I was weight restored, but I weigh more now than I did when I was like weight restored, like in terms of like medically. And it started going up then, and like I didn't care. I was just like, I love doing this. I love like living my life. And so I started tracking macros, I think, at the very, very end of my sophomore year. So like a few months after I started lifting, and I just used like the If It Fits Your Macros calculator. Went home that summer and started working out at an LA Fitness by my house. And that was the first time I like squatted and deadlifted it, and that's when it became like my passion. So that summer, I got really into lifting, and I changed my username to what it is now, Eat, Lift, Flex. Eat, Lift, Flex, Flex. And I've just kind of stuck with it ever since. I mean, I haven't competed yet or anything. I just lift, or have been lifting because I love it. I'm at a point now where I realize what I want, and I do what makes me happy. And if there's a Friday night where I want to go out, I go out. If there's a Friday night where I want to be at the gym, which is those Friday nights, and then come home and like go to the hot tub and have a glass of wine with friends, and that's what I do. Like, that's who I am. That's what I love to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you take anything away from this video, it's one, that I want you to see that recovery is not a straight line. Eating disorders aren't the same for everyone. That it is possible to get through them. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a really long video, but I hope you kind of got some insight into like who I am and what I stand for and how I got to where I am today, because I know I don't talk about it a lot. So thanks for watching. Comment with any other like video ideas or what you want to see. Share, like, and subscribe if you want to see more. I really want to share like as much as I can with you guys. So thanks for watching. See you later.